All right, I'm going to be going live in just a few moments. Starting a little bit early. Well, I set the time back about 15 minutes because I was running behind. And then figured, why not go ahead and start just a little bit early? So we'll just give it maybe a few seconds to see if we get more people in. In the meantime, enjoy the weird music. But we're going to talk about open scoring tonight. So we'll go about 15 more seconds and then we'll get the action started. I always like to start about, we got people in all of a sudden. So we're going to go ahead and start. All right, welcome back to WMMA Scene Now with your host, Chuck Stevenson, and welcome to episode number 125 of the WMMA Scene Report, the WMMA Report, regular show where we go over everything going on within the world of the women's divisions of mixed martial arts. Reviews, previews, rankings updates, news, everything we're going to try to talk about. Tonight, we're going to talk about open scoring, and I'm going to give you some arguments against it. Of course, the chat is open, so you're welcome to give your arguments for it as well. But I put the Kansas Department of the Athletic Commission symbol up there because, they're like the first ones to really implement open scoring with Invicta Fighting Championships back in 2020 with I believe it was the Bantamweight Phoenix tournament. So we're going to talk about open scoring. But first, we got to go over what happened this past weekend. So starting with One Championship. So One Championship had one ladies MMA bout this past weekend on Friday, where at 125 pounds, where Diane Cardoso on the right-hand side there defeated Ayaka Miura at 56 seconds of the second round. Tapology says it was standing TKO. Basically, it was an injury stoppage. Like the referee could tell that Miura was injured, and excuse me. So looked like she dislocated her shoulder, possibly. So hopefully Ayaka Miura is okay. I haven't checked her Instagram or anything lately. But Cardoso made her debut in One Championship. She climbed to 9-1 as a pro, and I'll tell you what, that strawweight division, as they like to call it in One Championship, they've already got a new contender. So that's good to see. Then on Friday night, we had LFA 130 with two ladies bouts. First up, Hillary Rose defeated Tiani Vali in a strawweight bout via rear naked choke, 3 minutes, 35 seconds of the second round, allowing Hillary Rose to climb to 6-4. Tiani Vali, she'd had like one fight in the last 2 years leading up to this bout. And honestly, it looked like she looked kind of rusty and looked like kind of like she didn't know what she was doing out there. Whereas Hillary Rose, she's been more active. She was fresher fighter and went out there and got the job done. Then also at strawweight, local fighter Marnick Mann defeated Kelsey Arneson via split decision, allowing Marnick Mann to climb to 5-0. Arneson fell to 1-2. When I saw this fight, I was like, well, here, excuse me. Excuse me. So when I saw this bout booked, I said, well, here goes LFA, another LFA special. Very lopsided fight, at least on paper. But I will tell you what, gotta give credit to Kelsey Arneson. She did not go in there to be, a tune-up fight or a gimme fight for a local fighter. She went in there and she gave Marnick Mann a very tough fight. It was very close. I figured they would give it to Mann after the end of 3 rounds, but the judging was actually really close on this one. So Mann coming away via split decision. Then on Friday night, also in Hawaii, we had Bellator 278 headlined by the Flyweight Championship, where Liz Carmouche on the right-hand side there defeated Juliana Velasquez via TKO in the 4th round, 4 minutes, 47 seconds, to become the new Bellator Flyweight champion. Now, I've already talked about this a few times already. It seems like it was a bad stoppage. It was genuinely a bad stoppage. Velasquez was just getting, like, Velasquez was stuck in a crucifix. But Liz Carmouche was landing the softest ground and pound, probably since Sarah McMahon. And I have talked about just how bad Sarah McMahon's ground and pound can be for a wrestler. Liz Carmouche was landing literally like this was the movement she was doing, just rubbing Velasquez's forehead. Now, she finally started throwing some actual elbows down. I guess when she realized, oh, I actually have to like put some effort into this. But then at that moment, as she started landing hard elbows, Velasquez got one of her, I believe it was her left arm free. And then that's when the referee decided to intervene and stop the fight. It's like, bro, that was the worst timed stoppage ever. And it seems like Velasquez is already calling for a rematch. Carmouche is trying to avoid a rematch. She says she wants new challenges. But Bellator president Scott Coker says that he's very open to a rematch. He seemed like that was a bad stoppage as well. So we'll have to see. But right now, Carmouche is the new champ. And it sucks for that division, too, because Velasquez isn't the most exciting champion. And while Carmouche just makes, like, what, 3 finishes in a row for her, it does not erase a whole history of boring fights from her. I'm sorry, it just does not. Anyway, we move on to Saturday night. Bellator had 279, so they had 2 events on the same weekend. This one also in Hawaii. Had a number of ladies bouts on this card. First up, a featherweight bout where Diana Silva defeated Janae Harding via unanimous decision. Silva climbed to 10-7. Harding fell to 6-6. Janae Harding just could not seem to figure out what to do with Silva's counterpunching. Every time Harding threw, Silva countered, and Harding just had like no answer for it whatsoever. And then the longer it went, the worse it got. Then at Flyweight, big upset here. Justine Kish defeating the former champ Elimele McFarlane via unanimous decision. Kish climbed to 8-5. McFarlane fell to 11-2. Got to give Justine Kish credit. I did not pick her in this fight. This fight absolutely reeked of a tune-up fight for Bellator favorite and former champ Elimele McFarlane in her hometown. McFarlane hadn't fought in like a year and a half since she lost the title to Velasquez. Had surgery in the meantime, and this was Justine Kish coming in on a 3-fight losing streak. Hadn't won yet in Bellator, lost her first Bellator fight to Deanna Bent. This reeked of a gimme fight for McFarlane. And Kish just said, I'm nobody's tune-up fight. She went in there and she fought her butt off. Never thought that she would want to go to the ground against McFarlane, but it was Kish taking McFarlane to the ground and controlling her on the ground. Now, it seemed like McFarlane got hurt at some point in the fight. She did go to the hospital afterwards. Not quite sure what exactly is wrong with her, but Justine Kish getting it done. Huge upset there. Then in the main event, we had a rematch for the Featherweight World Championship with Chris Cyborg, the champ, defending her title against Arlene Blenco for the second time. Not getting a finish this time, though. This time, Cyborg had to go fight hard for 5 rounds. And you know what, Blenco, this is a fairly one-sided fight, but got to give Blenco credit. I thought she was going to get finished in the first round. It seemed like she was close. Cyborg had her down, had her back, but Blenco survived. Blenco even damaged Cyborg up a bit. I mean, I don't think it was ever in doubt who was going to win this fight at any point. Blenco created a bit of a war in there. I mean, one-sided war, but that's still a war. So got to give Arlene Blenco credit. And Chris Cyborg fought not like the Cyborg of old. She fought patiently. You know, she never lost her cool. She never swarmed Blenco trying to go for that quick finish. She took her time. So different Cyborg in there as well. Then we had a couple of post-limb fights because Bellator still likes doing post-limb fights for some reason in 2022. Anyway, Sumiko Inaba, one of my prospects to watch in 2022, defeated Whitney Powell via KO with a left hook 1 minute and 22 seconds into the first round. Inaba stayed undefeated at 4-0. Whitney Powell fell to 3-5. I can't heap enough praise on Sumiko Inaba. She looks to be the complete package. She can finish you with strikes. She can finish you with submissions. She can go deep into the fight. I know one of her fights was a finish in the third round. The big thing now is Bellator needs to get her a step up in competition. She's 4-0. It's time to give her someone, at least give her someone with a decent record, a winning record at this point. I mean, this was a bit of a showcase fight in her hometown of Honolulu, but now it's time to give Inaba a step up. She performed flawlessly in this bout. Now you got to see her tested, because that's one thing. You show me a fighter who's undefeated with all finishes, I got to see what they can do with someone that's going to take them really into those deep waters and go all the way to the decision. I need to see Inaba tested. But congrats to Lady Samurai there. Then at a 120-pound catchweight bout, Randy Field defeated Mariah Miller via submission due to rear naked choke, 48 seconds of the second round. Field climbed to 3-1. Miller fell to 1-2. That head and arm throw, ladies. Head and arm throw, it'll get you. It might work sometimes, but when it doesn't, it can be catastrophic. And that's what happened to Mariah Miller. Field came out the back door on the head and arm throw, took Miller's back, sunk in the choke, and she was done 48 seconds into the second round. And I had Miller winning the first round too, so big mistake there. Hopefully one that she'll learn from. And finally, we had UFC Fight Night, Lemos versus Andrade. Had two ladies bouts. First up at Flyweight, Macy Barber defeated Montana De La Rosa via unanimous decision. Barber climbed to 10-2. This is the Macy Barber that we should see every time she fights. Not trying to stay out and be a distance fighter. She's not a distance fighter, missing after a shot. She's just not. This Macy Barber fought in close. She got in close. She landed those heavy shots. She used her frame and her weight to bully Montana De La Rosa in the clinch and on the ground. And kudos to Team Alpha Male for getting into Barber's head that that's how she needs to fight. She looked good in this bout. Got to give her credit, and I'm not a Macy Barber fan, but if she keeps fighting like this and can do this same thing against better competition, she'll be moving back up the ranks in no time. I mean, right now, I think she's like number 14. De La Rosa was unranked. But if Barber keeps performing the way she did this weekend, or this past weekend against other opponents, she's going to keep improving. And then in the main event, Jessica Andrade returned to strawweight, successfully defeating Amanda Lemos via submission due to standing arm triangle choke, 3 minutes, 13 seconds of the first round. Andrade climbed to 23-9. Lemos fell to 11-2. First ever standing arm triangle choke in the UFC. And Andrade she wasn't really landing up until this point. Like, Lemos was kind of landing, like nothing like major or anything. She was throwing some kicks, and Andrade was staying outside. She was patient, but not really getting anything off of her own yet. And then Lemos threw a kick that landed to the side of Andrade. Andrade caught it, used it, and drove forward, getting Lemos off balance, let the leg go, but got to the cage against with Lemos. Got her head, like, immediately, like, as she clinched, made her head up under the arm of Lemos. Lemos just had no idea what to do. Andrade just clamped that arm triangle choke in that fast. And Lemos was, when she tapped and the referee stopped it, like, she just kind of, like, dropped straight forward. Like, she wasn't unconscious, but you could tell that when she tapped, she was well on her way to fading out of consciousness. Not a good look for Amanda Lemos. It's really not. She kind of struggled. against Angela Hill. This was a good chance to step up to against a former champion who was the #1 flyweight before Andrade stepped back. I mean, right now, Lemos is looking like a killer against the bottom of the division, but as soon as she even makes a bit of a step up, she's looking vulnerable. Definitely does not know how to act when pushed by opponents. That's for sure. So we'll have to see. The jury, for me, is still out on Amanda Lemos. For Andrade, we got to stop denying just how amazing she is. I mean, she's a former champ. She has wins in 3 divisions. Only lady to do that. Yeah, only lady in the UFC, at least, to do that. Former champion. Yeah, I mentioned former champion. It's time to start. We got to start giving, Jessica Andrade her laurels. What do they say in boxing? Like we got to start giving her flowers. Her laurels, I guess. Got to start giving Andrade credit because she is a threat to everyone in that strawweight division. Yes, everyone. And I know that there are fans out there of certain fighters that will say, "Oh, Andrade isn't going to beat so and so. She already fought him once and lost." Or Andrade isn't going to beat Rose again, or whoever. It doesn't matter who. Andrade is a threat to everybody in this division, hands down. We got to start giving Jessica Andrade credit, y'all. So that is it for this past weekend. Yes. So we will now move on into the news. So first up, we've got some one championship news. One championship 157. So they dropped the naming tradition. They're going to numbers now. One championship number 157 goes down next month, May 20th in Singapore. They've added 2 ladies bouts at strawweight, 115 pounds. Their atomweight division. Asha Roca taking on Elise Anderson. That was supposed to happen this past month and got canceled for some reason. But it's going to go down next month instead. And also at 125 pounds, Muay Thai fighter Wonder Girl, formerly Wonder Girl, I guess she goes by Wonder Girl Jarunsak Gym now. She was going by Fairtex for a little while because she was training at Fairtex. But anyway, Wonder Girl is going to be taking on Indian fighter Ziba Bano. So Wonder Girl making her MMA debut. Then Aries FC number 7 goes down June 25th in Paris. That'll be on UFC Fight Pass. They've added 2 ladies bouts. First up, a strawweight bout. Anastasia Fiofanova coming in at 8-1. She's taking on Evelina Wozniak coming in at 6-1. So Wozniak just fought on the last Aries card or the one before that and suffered her first defeat. She's making a fairly quick turnaround against a very tough prospect in Anastasia Fiofanova. And then at bantamweight, we have Ioni Razafiarison taking on Rizlan Zoa, a couple of French women taking each other on there. Razafiarison coming in at 7-3, Zoak coming in at 6-4. You might remember Ioni Razafiarison. She fought in Bellator a few times. I think that's where all 3 of her losses come from in Bellator. And she was like, they had her fighting at like 140-pound catch weight or featherweight. They were just basically using her to get wins for other fighters, basically. And then LFA 132 goes down May 13th in Brazil. So LFA going to Brazil for the first time, and that will be on Fight Pass on May 13th. Added a pair of ladies bouts. First up, strawweight, Yasmin Castaño coming in at 5-0, taking on Bruno Brazil coming in at 6-2-1. And they added a flyweight bout, Edna Oliveira coming in at 10-9-1, taking on Gabriela Hermogenes coming in at 6-1. So that'll be interesting to see LFA heading to Brazil for the first time. And then the last 2 bits of news are not good, unfortunately. It's bad news. First up, UFC flyweight Casey O'Neill has suffered a full ACL tear. And her July 2nd fight against Jessica I is now off. Seems Casey heard it last week. Has spent the past week trying to rehab it, and it just turns out it's a full tear. She's going to need surgery, so she'll be out until at least probably midway next year. That really sucks to see. A young prospect like Casey, have to take a full year off rehabbing a serious injury. That just sucks. And keeping up with the bad news, so Double GFC 12 was set for May 11th in South Korea, and that event has been canceled. Now, that was supposed to have two ladies' bouts, a 127-pound catchweight bout, and then a strawweight bout. Unfortunately, they're both canceled. And from what I can tell, it looks like Double G is going to be done, kaput, period. I don't know what's going on over there in Korea, but it seems like something went on between him and another promoter. I'm not going to get into it because I don't quite know the details. It was hard to tell through Google Translate. But looks like Double G is going to be no more, which sucks to see because they were a decent promotion. Anyway, that is the news for this week. Not a whole lot going on. So we're going to move into the rankings update. Bring that up here. So first up, we've got Bellator Women's Flyweight. Had some big moves here. So, because first off, we got the new champ, Liz Carmouche. Juliana Velasquez, the former champ, moved down to number 1. Makes sense. They traded places. And then you've got Ilima-Lei Macfarlane, who was actually at number 1. She moved down 3 spots to number 4 after suffering her loss to Justine Kish, allowing Kana Watanabe and Denise Kielholtz to move up 1 spot each. I forget what spot Liz Carmouche was at. But then also we have Justine Kish, who was previously not ranked, coming in at number 9. Okay. And then which moves Diana Avsaragova down to number 10 from 9. I forget who was that number. Forget who was at number 10 before. Oh, Valerie Lareda. Bumping Valerie Lareda off of the rankings. So good. Hey, Justine Kish did 2 great things in 1 week. She beat the former champion Ilima-Lei Macfarlane and then knocks Valerie Lareda off the rankings. Good for her. So this to me is the big one. Like the former champion who was at number 1 loses to an unranked fighter, only moves down 3 spots. Now, I can understand not wanting to put Kish too high because she was coming off a loss and she was unranked before that. But I think if you're the former champ and you're number 1 and you lose to an unranked fighter, you should be moving down more than 3 spots, especially because it's a clean win for Justine Kish. Like, had Kish won a controversial split decision, okay, I understand. But for them to only move Macfarlane down 3 spots from 1 to 4 after suffering a loss to an unranked fighter, I can't agree with that, everybody. I cannot agree with that. So that's it for flyweight. Let's take a look at featherweight. So the featherweight rankings changed mostly because the former number 6 Janae Harding, who lost to Diana Silva, who was at number 10. So Harding lost to Silva, moved down from 6 to 8. Silva moved up 1 spot from 10 to 9. So for some reason, Harding is still above Silva. And that allowed Toledo Nogueira and Pam Sorensen to move up 1 spot each. And I can't even remember the last time Toledo Nogueira fought. And then I had BJ from No Filter MMA. He asked me, he's like, how the heck does Jessica Borger rank? Well, I looked it up. I went to Bellator's website. They only have 11 featherweights. That's how shallow that division is. They only have 11 featherweights signed. So they literally can only fill up the champs plus the top 10. That's how shallow that division is, everybody. So when people say, And featherweights in UFC should go to Bellator. At least they have a division. Barely. They barely have a division. So let's move on to the UFC rankings because we had some moves going on. So the former champ, Jessica Andrade, moves back in at number 5, moving everyone else below her down one spot. And I believe Luana Pinheiro was at number 15. So that bumps her off the ranking. So Jessica Andrade now at number 5. Yachanan moves down to 6. Nunes down to 7. Torres to 8. Ebos to 9. Michelle Watterson to 10. Lemos to 11, and so on and so forth. So I don't have a problem with that spot because Jessica Andrade was never below number 5 at strawweight since long before winning the championship and then losing it. Moved up to flyweight, comes down, beats a top 10 fighter. I have no problem with them slotting her back in at number 5. This is one of those rankings where like it's a big stirrup. I don't have a problem with this one. This one's weird though, because Andrade moved down 2 spots at flyweight from number 1 to number 3. But she's not at flyweight anymore. So why are you keeping her in the rankings? Why are you keeping someone in the rankings a week after they move down? That makes no sense to me. But it allows Katlyn Chookagian to move up to number 1 and Lauren Murphy to move up to number 2. These rankings are going to be changing very soon because Lauren Murphy's not going to be just staying at number 2 for very long, I don't think. Chookagian's going to be a hard one to beat, but I don't see Murphy staying number 2 for very long. And if Jessica Andrade is still at flyweight next week, I don't know what to say. Because she's not in the division anymore. She even said she's staying at strawweight, so I don't think she should be ranked at flyweight anymore. So that's it for your ranking updates. So we're just going to keep on moving in. We're moving along. Let's talk about the weekend preview. I got to change my banner up here. All right, so weekend preview. So we've got only two ladies bouts the entire weekend we're going to focus on this weekend. So first up, Brave FC 58 goes down in South Korea at Incheon this Saturday morning, or is it? Yeah, Saturday morning. As one ladies bout at atomweight. Jillian Go taking on Ye-Rin Hong. Go making her pro debut. Hong coming in at 3-2. Looks like Go's the older fighter at 31 to Hong's 19. And according to this graphic, Hong is just slightly taller, 155 centimeters to 153.5 centimeters. Topology has it kind of backwards. But whatever. I'm going to go with Ye-Rin Hong on this one. I never heard of Jillian Go before. I don't know her. I've seen Hong fight before. She was racking up some wins and then got steamrolled her last fight, unfortunately for her. And but Jillian Go, 31 is kind of old to be making your debut. But we'll have to see. Because Hong, she's only 19 years old. Man, she hasn't even gotten in there like her big girl strength yet. So we'll see. But for now, I'm going to go with Ye-Rin Hong. It's nice to see some atomweight action there in South Korea. Then on Saturday night, we've got UFC Fight Night, Font versus Vera. Only one ladies bout on the card at bantamweight. Gina Danger Mazzani taking on Shanna, the Shanimal Young. Mazzani coming in at 7-5. Young coming in at 7-4. Excuse me. Let's see. Mazzani's coming in off a loss to Priscilla Cachoeira 11 months ago. Before that, had a win. That was almost a year and a half ago over Rachel Ostovich down at flyweight. Young coming in at, I'm sorry, this bout is at flyweight apparently. I said bantamweight. Young coming in off of 2 straight losses to Macy Chasson 2 years ago and then Stephanie Egger 6 months ago. See, looks like Mazzani's the elder fighter, 33 to 31. Young is slightly taller, 5 feet 7 inches, 170 centimeters to 5'6", 168 centimeters. And then Mazzani actually has the reach advantage here, 68.5 inches, 174 centimeters to 65 inches, 165 centimeters for Shanna Young. So the height difference is reversed by the reach. So I don't know if Mazzani just has really long arms, maybe she's got broad shoulders, what have you. She's got the longer reach. I'm not looking forward to this bout. I'm just not. This is basically like two ladies that are fighting for their spot. So this could end up being entertaining, but not in like the pretty way. It's like the sloppy kind of way, where I think these two are really going to need to impress and look for a finish here. For Mazzani, she admits this is like the last fight on her deal. So if she loses, she's definitely probably not getting re-signed. I mean, she was exchanging wins and losses. For Shanna Young, 3 losses in a row, she'll probably get cut too. So both ladies are going to be fighting, to keep their spot on the roster here. And you never know with the UFC too, because you might win and then go, well, you look terrible, so we'll cut you anyway. And then they'll sign someone on an even cheaper deal because they like to do that. So we'll have to see. But I don't expect great things from this bout. Maybe it'll turn into like a fight of the year contender. Who knows? As for who wins, flip a coin. Flip a coin. I don't know. I mean, I think it seems like Mazzani's been doing better since moving to Kansas City full time. I think she's hooked up with Tim Elliott, but she's also training under James Krause, who has brought her along. Shanna Young is at Knoxville Martial Arts Academy. They've got a lot of fighters there, but I can't remember the last time a fighter from there did really, really good. That's a shame because I like a lot of the fighters at Knoxville, but it's hard to pick them. So, yeah, like I said, pick a coin on this one. So that is it for the upcoming weekend preview. So, like I said earlier, tonight I wanted to talk about open scoring. So, mostly it's been happening in Kansas with the Kansas Athletic Commission, and it's mostly been Invicta FC, which works. I do remember 1 or 2 events held by LFA that did it under open scoring the same way. And a lot of people seem to like open scoring. I'm going to present some arguments tonight, though, against it. And like I said at the start of the show, if you disagree, feel free to mention it in the chat. If you're watching this on playback, please, excuse me. If you're watching it on playback, feel free to bring up your points in the comments. Now, I do got to give a shout out to Brian Campbell of the Morning Combat Show. He gave me the inspiration for this and one of the ideas. But I've got I've got 3 main arguments against open scoring. And I think I can convince some people. Okay, first off, and this to me is probably the most important. A lot of people think that open scoring and allowing the fighters to know what's going on in the fight is going to allow them to help the fighters to work around bad judging. I disagree, because at the end of the day, it's not fixing bad judging. Open scoring just basically takes bad judging and sweeps it under the rug a little bit and go, but look at what we got here. Woo! It's like, I don't have my keys in front of me, but it's like It's like dangling dad's keys in front of a baby or dangling a toy on a string in front of a cat. It's just a distraction. Or as magicians like to call it, misdirection. Because with the hand, you're watching the hand over here, but you're not seeing what the hand down here is doing. Open scoring basically just allows commissions to not do anything about undereducated judges, underqualified judges, and just judges who simply don't know what the F they're watching. It just does not fix bad judging. And honestly, I have yet to see evidence to show that it helps fighters to fight better in spite of the bad judging, because a fighter's going to see scorecards are going the wrong way, but they might not be able to do anything. Okay, so that moves me on. So argument number one is that it doesn't fix bad judging, and that at the end of the day, I think that should be the most important, because it's not solving the problem. But piggybacking off of what I just said, number two is the myth of the last round comeback. Now, do last round comebacks happen in fights? Yes, but they are rare. They are very rare. And this whole myth springs up around the fact that, well, if a fighter sees that they're down 2 rounds to none in the 3rd round, or 3 rounds to 1 in the 5th round, they'll fight harder for a finish. The numbers, however, just do not reflect that. So the idea that open scoring is going to allow fighters to fight harder for a comeback and go for the finish in the 3rd round, it's largely been busted. Okay, so here's my numbers here. Since the Phoenix Series 3 back on March 6th of 2020, Invicta FC has held 10 events across with 48 bouts. Now, I'm not including the single round Phoenix tournament bouts. But since the first event to feature open scoring, the Phoenix Series 3, the bantamweights, back on March 6th of 2020, Invicta has held 40 fights. Invicta has held 48 bouts across 10 events. You know how many 3rd round comeback finishes there have been? 1. 47 non-comebacks to 1. And it was at the very most recent Invicta event. Let me see the fight, find the fight here. Milana Dudieva got knocked out. I know that much. No. That's the next one. So it was at Invicta 46, Rodriguez versus Torquato 2, back on March 9th. And Denise Gomez defeated Milana Dudieva via TKO at 1 minute and 56 seconds of the 3rd round. Gomez was well behind on the scorecards. Here's the thing, though. It's not so much that Gomez fought that much harder in the 3rd round. I mean, she did. I'm not going to take away credit from her. She did fight that hard. But Dudieva was like exhausted by the 3rd round. So it's not so much what Gomez did, is just how bad Dudieva looked after 2 rounds. But the main point here is that 48 bouts in 2 years, you only have 1 3rd round comeback. I mean, I'm sure there are people out there that love stats that are going to argue, well, that's not a big enough sample size. But still, you'd think there would be more than that by now, because that's one of the biggest proponents. That's one of the biggest ideas that proponents of open scoring go for, is like, well, shoot, it'll allow fighters who are down to fight that much harder in the final round to get a finish. It's not showing it. The numbers just do not reflect that right now. So the myth of the last round comeback basically busted. Now, the third and final argument that I'm going to convey to you against open scoring is going to be the fan experience. Open scoring robs the fans of one of the best experiences that you can get in MMA. You've got a fight, whether it was a 3-round war, a 5-round war, doesn't matter. The fight has been an absolute war, and it is close. It could go either way, and neither fighter necessarily knows. Both fighters think they won, and you're waiting, and you hear the judges scorecards get read off and announce the winner. And if it's the fighter you like won, you're jumping out of your seat. You're cheering. You're like, yeah, I told you, yeah, that's it, right. Or if the fighter you were cheering for lost, it's heartbreak. But either way, I mean, it is some of the worst heartbreak too, because you're watching a fighter that you like, that you cheer for, just fight their ass off. I mean, just fight 3 rounds, 5 rounds, absolutely fight their butt off, and then they just lose, and you're heartbroken. But either way, whether you're elated or you're disappointed, it's an emotional experience like very few others that you're going to get in this sport. And open scoring robs you of that. Because in open scoring, you go into the final round, if it's 2 rounds to none, or 3 rounds to one, or 4 rounds to none, it goes to the decision. You already know who won. So you basically get robbed of a potentially exciting final round, but you definitely get robbed of that experience of what happens when that scorecard gets read, that decision. And it's either the highest of highs or just extreme disappointment. And you're getting robbed of that with open scoring. Not only that, the fighters get robbed of that too. So, like, if a fighter, let's say a fighter is fighting for a championship for the first time, and they fought a hard fight, and they're waiting for those scorecards to be read, and then they hear their name as the winner. That is the biggest feeling that fighter will ever get to experience, because they get their name announced. They didn't know, they weren't sure, and then they get their name announced, and they're like, yeah, they won, and they're so excited. And as a fan, as a fighter, that's got to be the greatest feeling. I can only imagine. But as a fan, to watch that happen to a fighter, that is like one of the greatest feelings you can get watching this sport. But with open scoring, you get robbed of that. It takes it away. By the end of the fight, you already know who won. You already know who won. So by then, the reading off of the winner basically just becomes, they're just going through the motions at that point. So the open scoring, for me, the biggest reason I would say would be that it doesn't fix bad judging. I think that's the most important thing. But as a fan, as a member of the audience, that emotional experience, that audience experience, whether you're watching it at home on TV or you're watching it live, and I swear, you get a chance to go watch an MMA event live, you have to do it at least once. Especially in person, though, that feeling you get from the mystery, that excitement, that tension, and then that release, that tension releases. That feeling is like second to none. I mean, it's probably more exciting than watching a big knockout or a big submission because of that tension build up. And then it explodes out. Open scoring robs you of that. So those are my 3 arguments against open scoring. And I picked Invicta and Kansas, like I said, in the picture because those are the 3 biggest proponents of open scoring. But those are my thoughts. I mean, there's a couple people watching in the chat. Let me know if you agree or disagree. And of course, if you're watching on the playback, let me know your thoughts in the comments. But those are my arguments against open scoring. I think they're pretty good ones, especially as a fight fan. Like I'm a fan first and foremost. Like I'm a broadcaster by hobby. This is my hobby. But above all else, I'm a fan first. And those experiences as a fan watching the sport, those are number 1. So let me know your thoughts. But final bit before we go, it is today. Oh, I didn't mark it. Anyway, today is the 10th anniversary. Actually, this picture fits very well. Today is the 10th anniversary of Invicta FC number 1. So Invicta FC 1 happened on this day in April of 2012. Saturday, April 28th, 2012. The event was headlined by a featherweight bout between Marloes Coenen and Romy Rison, with Marloes Coenen coming away via unanimous decision. 10 years of Invicta FC, and it was held at Memorial Hall in Kansas City, Kansas. Congratulations to Invicta FC. Congratulations to Invicta President Shannon Knapp. Congratulations to all the staff there, everybody that's worked there along the way. 10 years, everybody earned it. Oh, and can't forget the fighters. Congrats to the fighters of Invicta FC on 10 great years. Whether past or present fighters, you've helped build Invicta to what it is today, the premier women's mixed martial arts promotion. But yeah, I'm looking at Invicta FC 1. Listen to some of the names that were on it. So you have Marloes Coenen, current UFC fighter Jessica Penny, new Bellator Flyweight champ Liz Carmouche, Caitlin Young, current Bellator Featherweight Leslie Smith, Nicolai Rivera Kalanick was on that one, or Kalanick. Randy Miller. Randy Miller was a promising wrestler who I believe she was a full-time soldier as well. I think that was her only fight. She looked so promising and just didn't. I don't know. I guess she was too focused on wrestling, trying to make the Olympics, I guess. Never fought again. But man, that was like a big what if at the time. Ashley Cummins was on there, and she still fights for Invicta 10 years later. That was her 3rd pro fight. Yeah, there was a lot of names on that card. That was a good fight card for a first ever event for Invicta. Now, they were far from being the first ever all ladies event. They weren't even the first all ladies promotion in history. They were certainly the first all ladies promotion in North America. But 10 years ago on this day, Invicta FC held their first event. It's been a long ride. So now they are up to Invicta number, what are we going to, 47 coming up here? Yeah, 47 goes down in 14 days, May 11th, with a strawweight title defense. Emily Ducote defending her title against former atomweight champ Alicia Zapatella. That should be a good one, I guess. But 47 numbered events plus a few non-numbered events, particularly the one-night Phoenix tournaments that have been pretty fun. So congrats to everybody over there at Invicta FC. Congrats to Shannon Knapp, the president. Congrats to all the staff, and especially the fighters. And good day. Good day. Anyway, that's all I have for you tonight. Fairly short show. I'm surprised it went as long as it did. because there wasn't a whole lot of news or anything, and there's not a lot of fights coming up. Fortunately, only 2 fights that I really found for this weekend. I believe there are a couple of ladies bouts on Combate Global tomorrow night. If you want to watch it on Paramount Plus or Univision, you can. I'm not sure what they are. If they're good, I'll watch them, and if they're good, I'll cover them next week. But anyway, that's all I really have for tonight. So if the chat has anything before we go, now's the time to say it. If not, we're going to get ready to go. So before you go, please hit that like button. That helps get the stream going. It lets people know that I'm going live. If you have it, if you're watching it on playback, say something in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on open scoring. I want to hear your thoughts on open scoring in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, why haven't you subscribed yet? Wmma Now, the best, most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Everyone, have a good night. Have a safe weekend. We'll see you next time.